Hey y'all, this is Lori. I'm at DevNexus in the DevOps Speakeasy, and I'm here with Jonathan Schneider of Moderne. So Jonathan, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you, Lori?
I'm good. It's a little bit loud because it's the last break before all the free stuff happens.
Absolutely. Everybody's ready to go.
They're ready to go. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
We're doing automated code remediation. So this sounds kind of crazy, but think about big framework migrations like Java 8 to 17, Spring Boot 1 to 2 to 3, JUnit 4 to 5. Those are things that we're writing actual code recipes that automatically transform the code and allow you to mass commit it across hundreds of millions of lines of code.
So why is this important?
Well, I could go back to where this started. I was working for Netflix on the engineering tools team. There were only two of us, and we had about 700 engineers at the time.
Wow.
And we were really trying to move people forward, trying to move Java 6 to 7 to 8, trying to move like internal, framework versions forward. And the special thing about Netflix was you couldn't impose any constraints on what product engineers did. So we spent a lot of time reporting, trying to surface problems to them, and it yielded approximately zero action. People would say, and so I would say, what could I do to help you move forward? And they would say, sarcastically, well, if you just do it for me, I'm happy to make the change. Otherwise, I got other priorities, I got other things to do. And so I think you heard enough, do it for me, do it for me, do it for me. We started to think, I think we need to literally find ways to automate the code itself. And then you fast forward several years, we were working with the bank, my co-founder Olga and I were working with the bank 3 or 4 years ago. They had 7,000 apps built on top of Spring Boot. Today they have 23,000 apps built on top of Spring Boot. So, every time there's a breaking change in Spring, that's 23,000 apps you got to go update. It's kind of reaching a breaking point.
So then that is how Moderne was built.
Absolutely, yeah. It's taking that same, problem that seemed internal to Netflix, and as we were touring different enterprises, we were seeing the same problem over and over again. It's kind of cool. We say now the software industrial revolution has arrived. We assemble apps, we don't build them from scratch. And because we're all really all our code bases are connected by this common substrate of open source and third-party components that evolve at their own pace, by the way, the problem is really repeatable. A breaking change in Spring that affects that one bank also affects a tiny insurance company, it affects a travel company, because we're all really building on the same components. So wherever there's a large enough scale problem and there's a degree of repeatability, it kind of leads you to think automation has to be possible somewhere here.
So Sean talked this morning about people thinking that software developers are going to all get laid off and then fix all this automated intelligence stuff, and they're going to get hired on again as contractors. What are your thoughts on that?
I think I called this the law of conservation of developer resources. For every step function increase in developer productivity, there's an equal and opposite increase in requirements from the business to deliver more functionality. So, I remember you go back a ways and to even test a local change in an app, I had to start WebSphere locally, and it took 45 minutes to boot. And you change any method declaration and you restart and wait 45 minutes. And when we went from WebSphere 45 minutes to Tomcat 45 seconds locally, that was earth-shattering, right? And you could have made the argument then, you can build so much faster that we only need a tenth of the developers we used to have. And yet that same organization, at that time they had 40 repositories and 70 engineers. Today they have 1,200 repositories and 70 engineers. So they've just built more functionality with the same resources. And I think that's the same thing with this generative AI.
Yeah. Are you worried about security?
I worry about security all the time. I think, but the thing that I worry about the most, I think, is that, vulnerability management right now, there's certain security organizations that feel like their job is to be a lighthouse, to really just shine a light on where all the problems are. And I think, honestly, the shift left movement has been kind of destructive in that way, because it's actually diffused the responsibility for fixing something to every product engineer. But the unit economics of that are really backwards. we're asking every product engineer to fix the same problem in the same way. And I think a really forward-looking security organization right now is looking for opportunities to, as they disclose a problem, also provide the automation that helps those engineers fix it quickly. That's where we get the unit economics back, aligned, I think, to the real requirement.
That's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with today?
Gosh, I think we've talked about a lot. You've had a long day of interviews, so I appreciate you having me here.
Okay, but again, your tool creates developer efficiency and productivity because you're artificially clearing up the mess. We'll call it the mess.
Yeah. We're automatically crafting that change that you would otherwise kind of have to tediously go through and do by hand, freeing the developer to do really the creative task of development, which is really what we all got into the business for in the first place.
See, AI isn't going to take over the world. It's just going to help enhance it.
That's right.
Awesome.
It's our partner, our co-pilot.
There we go. Oh, co-pilot.
Right.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Lori. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.